4:15, well, 5:15, and eventually I'm
I
going
got
to
bad legs, so please don't put a chair in front of me. Okay, thank you.
I have over 10 years of leadership experience, having served on the following boards: president of Park Forest Rotary Club from 2012 to 2014. I'm a member of the Tall Grass Arts Association Board, and I'm currently the chair for the Beaux-Arts Ball. Shameless plug, if you'd like to go. We are honoring John Ostenberg this year. He's one of our honorary, well, he is our honorary this year. And it's going to be on March 23rd at Lincoln Country Club.
What's the theme? Is there a theme?
The theme is Carnival.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Please try not to do that.
I'm also the membership chair for the League of Women Voters, member of the Park Forest, I was a member of the Park Forest Youth Commission. Now I'm the trustee liaison for Park Forest Youth Commission. And I'm also a member of the Race, Equity, and Leadership Steering Committee that John Ostenberg put into effect about 2 years ago. So, and I also am the co-founder of the Southland Rotary Club. We just got chartered in October, and we need more members. And since being elected in 2015, I've actively worked with our board to improve the livability of our community. I'm a very strong believer in transparency, and I think that you guys should know where your tax money is being spent. And you can actually look on the village website at some of the documents, and they'll let you know what our money is being spent on.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. Ms. Herron, your 2 minutes for your opening statement.
You guys hear me? Before I start, I would like to thank the head of my life, my baby girls, Crystal and Nina, family and friends who encouraged and supported this transition, League of Women Voters, village manager, and finally the people of Park Forest. My name again is Candyce Herron, and I am soon to be your village board member trustee. I believe I can and should contribute to my community. I have observed and experienced, as many of you have as well, how our village has made a drastic turnaround in the past 10 to 15 years. I believe with a new proactive, ambitious approach, this community has the potential to quench the thirst of what our tax dollars deserve. I am also advocating to bridge the communication gaps that exist within our community. With the assistance of our village manager in recent months, I have been conditioning myself to be better equipped and competent with the organization of the village operations, gathering and assessing facts that may need to be restructured for the good of the people. It is my priority to do my due diligence by supporting our community with good intentions and following through. Thank you again.
Thank you. Mr. Woods?
Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to thank the nonpartisan committee for hosting this event. In addition, I would like to acknowledge my fellow candidates, for I believe that we share the same passion for the betterment of our community. My name is Joseph Woods, and I am CEO of the Right Style Media Group. I am a writer, an editor, and a poet. I believe in the power of the written word, and my passion for writing has brought me to this place where I am able to help potential authors and pursue their dreams, and businesses convey their messages. But nothing brings me more joy than helping a child develop his or her writing voice. I grew up on the near west side of Chicago. I am now a 15-year resident of Park Forest, and I'm a product of St. Mark Elementary, Sister Kathleen Teresa, where you rest in peace. I attended Kluge North High School. I also attended Loyola University of Chicago. I majored in political science with a minor in English and philosophy. Go Rams, by the way. And Roosevelt University with a paralegal certificate specializing in litigation and legal writing. A career in public service and a lifetime of community engagement, I believe it has prepared me to serve as village trustee. And although there are only 3 candidates and 3 positions, I do not take this endeavor for granted. I served 3 administrations for the Office of the Illinois Attorney General, advocating for rights of consumers, senior citizens, crime victims, and persons with disabilities. I am presently serving on the library board for Park Forest. It is an honor to work alongside such committed leaders. Most recently, I am a graduate of the Park Forest Civic Leadership Academy. As trustee, I will work to enact legislation and establish policy that achieves a sustainable budget, protects our environment, promotes ethical government, and ensures that Park Forest remain a vibrant, livable community for residents of the village. Thank you.
Thank you all. Now we'll go to questions from the audience, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. We'll start with Candyce on this question. If elected, what new proposals would you suggest or introduce to address the current wave of youth violence in the village?
That is a beautiful question. My approach would be to have more things for our youth to be busy with. Recreation right now, they can go to Michelle Obama. However, there's a limited time where our youth can interact at the recreation center. So I think we need to have more recreation, more things available for them, for our youth.
Mr. Woods?
Yes. I would first like to, well, as we all acknowledge, there has been an uptick in youth violence. One thing in Park Forest that I'm proud to say that we have is the Youth Commission that constantly looks for different ways to keep our youth engaged. I'm also proud to say that we still have the Teen Zone, along with the Teen Zone in our public library, that still seeks to keep them engaged. However, I still think that we need to promote more youth initiatives, especially during the summer, where I have personally found that a lot of children find themselves being idle and not really having a lot to do, being that we don't have a quote-unquote community center for kids. Although we do have the Mississauga Valley Recreational Center, I still think that there's more that we can add to do with that. Thank you.
Ms. Graham?
Okay, I was actually just talking about this in our Rotary Club meeting on Thursday, and we came up with a few ideas. One is to partner with the South Suburban Youth Coalition, and they're actually doing a lot of things to engage our youth and just find out, get to the root of the problem. And a couple of the things that came out of our meeting on Thursday was maybe we can partner with the South Suburban Youth Coalition and maybe start doing midnight basketball again. A lot of people can benefit from that, I believe, because those are the hours that, you know, the kids get started with a lot of stuff that they shouldn't be involved in. And if we give them something positive to look forward to, then we can be in a whole different situation with our youth.
Thank you. The next question was addressed to Mr. Woods, but everyone will have an opportunity to answer it. Addressed to Mr. Woods, you will have the opportunity to start first. At the end of your profile, you had stated the old and new Park Forest. Could you please explain what you meant by that and how this perception will move Park Forest forward?
Okay. First, I'd like to change old Park Forest to vintage Park Forest. Okay. What I meant by that is that I've seen examples where vintage Park Forest and residents who have been here for umpteen years and have attended Richie's, they have roots here, and I get that. However, at times, and I also do get that, you know, they speak of real lofty terms, like the days when there was the Marshall Fields, and the days when there was the Goldblatts, and when we used to have our kids play in front of Marshall Fields. And these are beautiful things. These, I mean, nostalgia has its place. I get that. However, there tends to be a separation between new residents and the old Park Forest residents. And I know that there's responsibility and personal accountability for both sides. I do believe that as new residents, we should engage and even seek out who Park Forest is and the history of Park Forest. And at the same time, those who have been here so long, or I shouldn't say so long, but those who have been here for a certain amount of time, should also embrace New Park Forest. I really do believe that I'm looking for a vision and hoping that there's a vision where there's one Park Forest and they're one and the same. And hopefully we can, put it this way, hopefully 30 years from now, I'm hoping that the kids who then become adults are speaking so lofty, use these lofty terms and have these great memories of Park Forest. And that's what I want to be a part of that conversation. I do believe that transformation of self and transformation of community begins with conversation. And if we want to have that tough conversation, I'm more than willing to accept that and be a part of that. Thank you.
Ms. Graham?
I am actually going to choose not to answer this question.
Okay, Ms. Herron?
To piggyback off of Mr. Woods, I concur. There is a saying of the old Park Forest and the new Park Forest. And there's a great majority of the millennials that reside in Park Forest. And I tell my children every day before they go to school, change the world. And I mean that with all of my heart. I want to contribute to this community and bring some new ideas to the table and have those difficult discussions and maybe bring in some millennial insights so we won't have high rates in teen violence. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with Tiffany on this question. It is, how will you market and promote Park Forest? What do you sell as Park Forest assets?
I see Park Forest having a lot of assets, and a few of them being that we do have a vintage Park Forest. New millennials coming in with Park Forest.
Part of the question is, how would you market?
I don't think that as trustees, that's our job to market Park Forest. As a trustee, I support our staff, and I believe that that's my job, is to support our staff and make decisions based on what's best for Park Forest. If they bring something to the table, I need to be able to decipher whether that's something that's positive for Park Forest or something that's not positive for Park Forest. We do have a very, very good economic development department, and I do have faith in our staff to market Park Forest. And what do I see as Park Forest assets? We have the Park Forest Aqua Center, which I do feel, I'm gonna jump out the window here and I'm gonna tell everyone, I do feel that if we enclose our Aqua Center, we could get a whole lot more utilization out of it. We can use it year round, we can have different activities there, the schools can go there and do their tournaments and things like that, swimming tournaments. You know, we can get our kids back to knowing how to swim, because most of them, you know, haven't had swim lessons because that's not something that's offered in school. And if we enclose our Aqua Center, then we can utilize it all year, and we can actually figure out a way that we can open it back up for summertime. So, you know, a lot of people are very into it being open. We can open it back up, but let's try to enclose it and be able to use it all the time, so that we're not losing out on any of our precious gems that we have in Park Forest.
Okay, Ms. Herron?
How would I market and promote?
How would I market and promote? How would you market and promote Park Forest? And what do you see as Park Forest assets?
We have a lot of potential with me being an educator, teaching physics. Potential means a lot to me. I would encourage our people. It shouldn't be left up just to the village. I would encourage our people. We have so much potential within this community. I would keep them informed as a trustee. I would keep them informed of what opportunities we have available, as well as informing them of what's been discussed at the table.
That's it. Mr. Woods?
Okay, I would first like to add to something that I said in regards to Old Park Forest also. I'm sorry, vintage Park Forest. Those who consist of the vintage Park Forest doesn't necessarily mean senior citizens. It could also be those who are 35 years old, who grew up here, were born here, et cetera, et cetera. I just wanted to make that clear. Also in regards to marketing and promoting Park Forest, as poet laureate, I had the unique opportunity to actually meet people who had different talents and who wanted to tell their stories. Because they were able to tell their stories, I'm like, well, wait a minute, there's so much talent here that so many people outside of Park Forest appreciate. I think that we should aggressively try to assess what kind of talents we have here so that it can be recommit itself to the community. When I tell stories, to other people about what they've told me, they're shocked and amazed by that. Also, we have a great, one of the things that we can also add to it is that, once again, a lot of people outside of Park Forest, they follow the models of diversity from Park Forest. We're a true model for that. Matter of fact, most people who even leave Park Forest still talk about how great Park Forest was and how other municipalities try to follow that same model. And so even if we, and visiting our Park Forest Museum really kind of reiterates that on how we can continue to market that kind of model. Also, I'd like to say that in that sense, we are a model government, if you will, in the sense that there is true transparency. I was very shocked to see that if we actually look for it, all the information is there. And so if we continue to kind of be more present with attaining all that information, we can then come to a point where we can converse as to how we want to spend our taxes. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Woods will, I'm sorry. Ms. Graham will be the first to answer this question for 2 minutes. This person wants to know the number of houses sold last year in Park Forest and the average selling price. If you know.
I will say that there were probably maybe more than 500 houses sold in Park Forest last year in 2018. And the average, the sales prices were around 70,000, but that is kind of misleading because that does include cooperative sales as well. So it's not just houses that are sold. This is the cooperatives as well. And the average single-family home is around $100,000.
No way. Mr. Woods?
Because I'm not a trustee yet, I don't necessarily have that information. However, I didn't think it was that high of a price. Actually, I thought it was $68,000 per home. But once again, I don't want to make any conjectures about that, and I don't want to guess about that. So I'm just going to be honest with you and let you know that I do not have that information. But I'll make it up in the next question.
Okay, and I want to make a point of order here. We'll let Ms. Herron answer, and then if anyone on this panel wants to rebut what someone else has said, they'll have 1 minute to do so. If you want to raise your hand when this session is over. But it's Ms. Herron's turn to answer this question.
I do not have the exact figure of how many houses were sold. However, I have had the opportunity recently to sit down with the department heads so we can discuss how we can fix the demolition, because that was a question from the last forum with our grant money to fix up the houses that we have in Park Forest and that Park Forest actually owns. Average selling price, you can look on Trulia, I think it's about 60,000. About 60,000. I hope that answers your question.
Was there a rebuttal?
Yes. And I did want to read, this is something that I got from the village manager on Friday as part of his informational update. In community development news, February is not typically a big month for home sales. However, some real estate transactions of note include 407 Springfield for $125,000, 367 Wilshire for $132,000, and 425 Indiana for $123,000. So,
Sounds good. Thank you.
May I have a vote?
Okay.
In that case, I agree with Tiffani Graham in regards to.
That's your rebuttal?
That's my rebuttal.
That's a nice rebuttal. Okay, starting with Ms. Herron this time, what is your number one concern facing Park Forest, and what is your plan to address it?
Taxes and water. I have to say this. I was on the fence a little bit about running for trustee. And when I got that water bill, I said, oh no, I need to see what I can do. However, I've had the opportunity to sit with our directors for the public works. And beautiful resume, good intentions. However, I had to address the concerns of the people with the water and the taxes. And I also told them I'm a very honest person. I don't like to drink the water. Not that good to me. A lot of people in the community have said the same. So,
Okay, Ms. Graham?
my number one concern, you said number one concern, right?
Yep.
Okay, my number one concern is these property taxes and how we're going to get these property taxes lower. And I wanted to mention that I went to, lost my card. Oh, I attended the Delicate Balance luncheon yesterday for Congressman Robin Kelly, and our Senator Toy Hutchison was very positive about our new Cook County Assessor, Fritz Kagi, and how he is very concerned about getting to the bottom of our property taxes and trying to get them lowered. That is the only way that we're going to be able to lower our property taxes if we come together and fight. You need to call your local legislator. If you need numbers, they're all listed on our website. You can call Donna Miller. She's our committee woman. Well, not committee woman. I'm so sorry. You can call Donna Miller as a commissioner. You can call Robin Kelly. She is our congresswoman. You can call Toy Hutchison. She is our senator. And Anthony, as well as Anthony DeLuca, Mike Hastings. Those are the people that you need to contact to let them know that we are not going to stand for the...
Debbie Myers-Martin.
Yes, and Debbie Myers-Martin as well. Just to let them know that we are fighting for our community, and we're not just going to take this laying down. We have to fight. It's not something where you can just sit and expect for things to happen. We have to fight. That was one of my reasons for getting on the board, for running for the board, period, is because I didn't want to just complain. I want to do something. I want to be a part of the solution and not a part of just pointing out what's wrong.
I would just mention, some of us have Deborah Sims as our Cook County Commissioner. Mr. Woods?
There's no way to disagree with what Tiffani Graham just said, because it does have to be a collaborative effort between the state, county, and our village, but definitely on the county assessors level and our legislators. So being that we spoke about taxes, I'd like to also say something about the water. I mean, having been in the civic leadership program, we kind of actually did a little bit of studies on, we visited the water plant, and we kind of had a conversation about the water in our village. And it appears to be more of not the water not being good, but the pipelines in which they run through. And so now we're talking about infrastructure. We need to, I would think that that's one of the major things that we need to look at also and pay attention to. But I can't end this without, I know it's only number one thing, but how can you not talk more about businesses and how we attract businesses? And perhaps even what businesses do we attract? I think that we ought to be more concerned about manufacturing businesses or perhaps logistics businesses. And I see the timekeeper, so thank you very much.
You have a minute left.
Oh, I do? Yeah, you're so intimidating with that, but. Also, I'd like to take a look at tech incubator businesses. Park Forest has to have, when it comes to niche businesses, Park Forest, in my opinion, really has to have those kind of businesses that people don't have any choice but to come to. We really do get that, you know, Park Forest is not good for businesses in regards to the traffic count. We get that. We do know that we're somewhat locked. Anybody who, I'm still trying to figure out, coming from the city, how is it faster to get from 394 or I-57? You know, so we are landlocked, so to speak. And so I think that we ought to focus on some of those niche businesses where people don't have a choice but to come to Park Forest. Thank you.
Mr. Woods, rebuttal?
I don't want to rebuttal.
You have to call it a rebuttal.
Okay.
However, 1 minute.
Rebuttal. I want to also add to my number one is the school district as well. The school district, I have 2 children within the school district. However, I see that there's opportunity for better.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
The next question will start with Mr. Wood. And the person who wrote the card is definitely expressing his or her own opinion. The question is, and so I would say react to this question, is the downtown redevelopment plan a failure?
Yes. Okay. I was doing a little bit of research about the village, and I noticed how in the 70s, how there was this redevelopment from, you know, into a center. And of course, you know, we knocked down the clock and the mall in which we knew it. And as it became a center, it still didn't attract a lot of the same businesses. It was supposed to attract a lot of businesses, but it didn't. Well, let me just put it this way. I wasn't here then, but according to historians, it did not attract a lot of businesses. So is it safe to say that the redevelopment plan didn't work? Perhaps. I would say perhaps. Only because we still don't have the kind of businesses that were attracted to Park Forest in the first place. We still have the situation where Lincoln Mall, you know, was erected, and then it kind of took a lot of the business away from us. So, and by the way, we're not just even dealing with a Park Forest situation, but a regional situation where the businesses started, I don't want to say evaporating, but for lack of a better word, I'll use that. So, to answer the question again, do I think that the redevelopment plan was a failure? Some would say yes.
Ms. Herron?
I wouldn't say failure. However, I can see how you would look at it as a failure. I look at failure as a way to learn on how not to operate in insanity. So, seeing what didn't work, what are we going to do moving forward that can work? And let's not do the same thing that we did last time because we see that didn't work. So I hope that answered the question. That's it.
Ms. Graham, we'll start with you on this one. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, so I think some parts of the plan was a failure, and then some parts were not. I believe that the part that we failed on is we don't own all of our property in downtown, and that makes it very hard for us to keep business in Park Forest. And one reason I want to say that is because I spoke to some of the people that were well, the gentleman that we're bringing the laundromat in, the company that owns that building, they were trying to charge them for things that have been there since maybe Jules was there. And, you know, that was a long time ago. So they're not responsible for, you know, somebody new is not responsible for the old stuff that needs to be fixed. If you want to sell something, you need to fix it to the point where it's ready to be sold. And with them not doing the work, they still hit them with a $40,000 bill for rent. And that has caused them not to be able to bring a laundromat to Park Forest. That hurts us a lot. We own a lot of the downtown, the upstairs. We have, I want to say it's over 75% occupied by business. And I just got a note yesterday that Toya Hutchinson is moving her office from Chicago Heights to Park Forest.
Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Graham, we'll let you address this question first. The writer says, in criticism of water rates and property taxes, are you also considering and accounting for the fact that part of our real estate tax bill includes school? And when we think about our water rates, have you thought about the need for water capital improvements?
Well,
A lot of things go
So
into
I-
both those things.
I do think, well, I know that I do take into consideration that most of the property taxes are being collected for the schools. And I really wish that people would go to the school board meetings and ask the school board why it takes so much money from the community for the schools to be sustained. That's something that I have as a question, and that's something that all of you should have as a question. I know for a fact that District 163 has, they've revamped everything, and they have a brand new exercise facility inside of their school that the community is not a part of, but we're paying for it. So my question is, why can't the community use something that we're paying for?
Ms. Herron,
That was such a lengthy, can you?
read the question?
The question,
Okay, in criticizing water rates and property taxes, have you accounted for the school portion of property taxes and the need for water capital improvements?
Yes, I have. Again, I think that we need to start, the village board and the school board, we need to have a better communication with a positive approach on how we can make this work for the whole. I have a lot of questions to how the funds are being dispersed throughout the school district, especially School District 163.
Mr. Woods?
Could you repeat the question again, please?
The card says, in criticism of water rates and property taxes, have you accounted for the school portion of property taxes and the need for water capital improvements?
Okay. In regards to the water, as I mentioned before, once again, it's not so much that we have bad water, but a lot of the pipes that it's going through. So is infrastructure and capital improvement a necessity? I would say absolutely yes. Especially the fact that we have approximately 70 miles of pipes going through Park Forest. So we do need to consider capital improvement for that. That's pretty much I think everyone would agree on. In regards to the schools, yes, a lot of the taxes does go to the school. I think we spend approximately 71 to 72% of our tax dollar goes to the schools. And although they have their own school board or what have you, we now then have to focus on making the school boards accountable. If that much if that much taxes are going to the schools, we ought to really make them accountable, given the fact that the new residents would like to wonder and see how good the schools are. That ought to be one of our selling points. In addition to that, I'd like to say that in regards to the property taxes, which, well, I lost my train of thought, but in regards to the
mentioned schools and property tax.
I'm sorry, say that again?
They mentioned schools and property taxes and water bills having water capital improvements affecting your water bills.
Oh, in that case, I had a great answer, and I answered that already.
And really quick, I do want to say that since 2015, there was $5 million in IEPA loan, interest loan, IEPA low interest loan to replace and install approximately 4 miles of water mains and resurface 1.7 miles of roadway. $750,000 of that project loan was forgiven by the state. So that's something that we did not have to pay for. And like Joe said, we do have over 70 miles in Park Forest of water mains in Park Forest. And one thing that might help is if you take a look at your own pipes in your home. These houses were built in 1949. And it's been years since the pipes have been redone. So you might want to look at your pipes, and it's not necessarily all of Park Forest. It could be the pipes in your home. So please take a look at that as well.
Thank you. The next question was very personal, and the thrust of it is that this person is complaining about the Central Park Trail, and he or she wants to know if there are plans to repair it. Mr. Woods?
Yes. One of the things that I think is, that all of us would agree on is that we're still having, I keep bringing back this word, infrastructure. There's a lot of roads that need to be repaired. We get that. We do know that Park Forest is up in age, so to speak, and there's some things that we haven't necessarily attended to, and perhaps that even adds such things as the parks also. So.
Ms. Graham?
First, I want to say I'm very sorry about your fall, whoever that was. I hope you didn't get hurt too bad. And I can say that we've done repairs. Repairs and seal coating was done last year before it got before the weather got icky, and during the summer it'll continue. So we are working on Central Park.
And Ms. Herron?
Yes, I've been informed that we are working on Central Park as well as the trail, and along with the other things that need to be fixed, like the potholes. That's it.
Okay. This question, try to put it in a way that maybe makes a little more sense. They're curious about the proportion of village residents that use the racket club compared to the Aqua Center. And the person wants to know if the racket club is self-supporting. And Ms. Graham?
The racket club is not self-supporting, and the village does have to pay a portion to support it, as well as Aqua Center. And I can say that if we do get more people to utilize these places, we'll get more, you'll get more use out of it, because it's part of your community. These are your community centers. So we do need you guys to come out and utilize them. Utilize your tennis and racket club. It's there. We're paying for it, and I would like to see it utilized rather than it just being on the tax bill.
Ms. Herron? if the same percentage of village residents use the Racket Club and the Aqua Center, and is the Racket Club self-supporting?
To piggyback off of what Ms. Graham just said, the president of the Racket Club, I'm not sure if it's self-supporting. However, I would have to do some more investigation and research to answer that question accurately with more facts.
Mr. Woods?
Plainly, no, the racquetball center is not self-supporting. Matter of fact, the village actually subsidizes the racquetball club for about, to the tune of about $120,000. Same thing with the Aqua Center. It is not necessarily self-supporting. If you look at it in a way where we actually subsidize them too for approximately the same amount, if not more. And by the way, because of that, I do believe that we need to make it be more multi-purpose. That both of the buildings ought to be more multi-purposeful because we're subsidizing that much amount of money.
Okay, thank you. We had a couple more questions, but I'm afraid we're going to have to move to closing statements so we have time for the mayoral candidates. 1 minute closing statement, starting with Mr. Woods.
First I want to say it's great to see a packed house. I can't tell you how many times we've had great programs at the library and only maybe 2 people show up. And so please support as a library trustee, I do have to say, please support your library. It is one of the staples of our community, and they're continuing to have great programs in there. And unfortunately, there's not enough people that actually attend those programs. In addition, I think that we're doing the best that we can to actually publicize those programs. Okay, that's not a part of my time, right? Again, I thank the nonpartisan committee for hosting this event and all of you for attending. My love for Park Forest runs deep. If not for Park Forest, I would not have been exposed to the Emerging Writers Award program sponsored by the Illinois State Library, which was exposed to us by the Park Forest Library. Nor would I have been a humble recipient of the Gwendolyn Brooks Award for poetry, which allowed me to then become the Park Forest Poet Laureate, that allowed me to go to the elementary schools like Mohawk and Blackhawk and really have some great experiences there that I'll never forget. If it were not for the collaborative effort of Park Forest Library and the Human Relations Commission, there again would not have been a Poet Laureate program. As Poet Laureate, I've gotten to know Park Forest and the diverse and cultural creative blood that runs through it. But that takes engaging one another and sharing our stories. If not for Park Forest, I would not have been elected to the Library Board Trustee. If it were not for Park Forest, I would not have been a graduate of the Civic Leadership Academy, where I was introduced to Park Forest in a more succinct way by teaching me the inner workings of the village, from the Aqua Center to the water plant, from our art centers to the Freedom Hall, from our housing stock to the library, to our greatest resources, like with like-minded individuals with diverse programs and backgrounds, but friends nonetheless. In the end, gaining this from Park Forest has provided me with a platform to build upon, to bring forth new ideas and to engage in difficult conversations in an effort to transform our village.
Okay, thank you.
The last sentence was the best part.
Okay, Ms. Herron?
Again, I want to thank everyone, from infant to elders, with the constructive criticism and the support that I get from the village leads, the sitting trustees. I want to thank you all again, and the League of Women Voters. I also want to say that I am so honored, humbly honored, for you guys allowing me this opportunity to represent our community. Again, I'm emotionally invested into this community, as well as financially invested into this community. I went to Forest Trail. I've learned so much from Park Forest, and I'm just excited to bring new things to the table. Thank you again. And again, you really can't spell success without you. Got that from mine. 227. It's out.
And Ms. Graham.
Thank you to the nonpartisan committee for putting on this forum, and thank you to all the residents that made it out today. This is awesome. If we can get you guys out to board meetings like this. And thank you for the residents that are watching on TV or streaming. Since I was elected in 2015, I've actively been working to make this a livable community. I was very on board with the Village Green expansion. We expanded the Village Green, and that was to make it more marketable for people that want to come and do weddings and rentals and things like that in Park Forest. I mean, we need to make people want to come here, make people want to see Park Forest. I'm looking forward to making Park Forest a destination, not just a place that you pass through. Joe Wood said something about factories. We need factories. We need businesses here that don't need foot traffic. If you don't need foot traffic, this is the place to be. We have Agrati, is a factory that is on Western. They make the fasteners for your cars. Everybody uses these fasteners, and they're all over the world. This is one of their plants. They have 3 different plants, and one of their home is in Park Forest. If we can get more businesses like that here, I think that would be awesome for our community and for us to get more businesses in. I look around and I see like factories and things like that, and I see restaurants around the factories because these people that work there want to go to lunch after, go to lunch. And I think that if we have more businesses like that, then we can have, my time is over. I just want to let you know that. Okay. But vote for me. Number 4, vote number 4.
Ms. Graham is right that we should all vote, and April 2nd is the day for voting. Thank you to the trustee candidates, and after they've moved out of here, I would like the mayoral candidates to come up, and we'll move right into that segment.